In a democratic society, every citizen has the right to know how their government spends public funds. Whether it's budgets, contracts, or economic policies, these documents directly impact people's lives and should not be buried under bureaucratic complexity or hidden behind restricted access. Freedom of text is more than just a principle. It's a demand for full government transparency, ensuring that all expenses, financial reports, and legislative texts are readable, accessible, and freely available to every citizen. Government spending is funded by taxpayer dollars, making financial records the people's information, not private data. Every decision on military budgets, healthcare funding, infrastructure projects, and social programs affects the public. And yet, these expenditures are often difficult to access, written in overly complex legal language, or withheld from easy public review. Freedom of text calls for a digital open access system where government financials are easily searchable, comprehensible, and available in multiple formats to accommodate people of all abilities. Lack of accessibility in government documents allows for corruption, waste, and misinformation to go unchecked. When financial reports are scattered across multiple sources, hidden behind paywalls, or made difficult to interpret, it prevents citizens from holding leaders accountable. Freedom of text insists that public spending should not be a mystery. Every contract, budget proposal, and funding allocation must be open for scrutiny. This principle aligns with the belief that knowledge is power, and in a democracy, power belongs to the people. As technology advances, governments must embrace AI-driven solutions, text-to-speech tools, and user-friendly data portals to ensure that all public documents are readable by everyone, including those with disabilities or language barriers. A truly transparent system is one where every expense, every law, and every policy decision is laid out in clear, accessible text, ready for all to read and analyze. Freedom of text is a call to action for governments to serve the people, not hide from them. In a world where communication shapes societies and ideas fuel progress, freedom of text stands as a bold statement that all text is created equal and deserves to be read by everybody. Whether it's a poem, a legal document, a news article, or an AI-generated report, every form of text holds value and the power to inform, inspire, and connect. This brand embodies a fundamental belief in universal accessibility, free expression, and the right to information without bias or restriction. Just as freedom of speech is a cornerstone of democracy, freedom of text represents the right for words, no matter their format or origin, to be seen, understood, and shared. With digital transformation reshaping how we consume information, accessibility remains a critical issue. Millions of individuals face barriers to reading due to visual impairments, language limitations, or restricted digital access. Freedom of text advocates for technological inclusivity, ensuring that text reaches everyone, regardless of ability or background. From AI-driven text-to-speech, large print formats, and multi-language translations to unbiased algorithms that don't suppress voices, the brand aligns itself with solutions that democratize reading. Whether it's a student in a remote village, a person with dyslexia, or a visually impaired professional, text should be universally readable, not a privilege, but a right. At its core, freedom of text challenges the gatekeeping of information. Algorithms today control what people read, surfacing some content while burying others based on engagement metrics rather than merit. This raises critical questions. Who decides what text deserves to be seen? Who determines which voices get amplified or silenced? The brand stands against digital censorship and the manipulation of knowledge. A future where AI fairly represents all text, without bias, suppression, or monetized filtering, aligns with the core mission of equal access to written thought. The sale of the Freedom of Text brand presents a powerful opportunity for companies, organizations, and visionaries who believe in an open, accessible, and fair digital landscape. Whether for a publishing platform, an AI literacy initiative, a free press advocacy group, or an accessibility tech company, this brand carries a message of empowerment. The value lies not just in the name, but in the movement it represents. A world where all text is free, equal, and available to every mind, every reader, and every voice. In an increasingly digital world, freedom of text stands as a symbol of inclusion, ensuring that all text, no matter its format, language, or source, remains accessible to everyone. The ability to read and comprehend information should not be dictated by physical ability, economic status, or technological barriers. However, millions worldwide face limitations due to visual impairments, learning disabilities, language constraints, and restrictive digital environments. Freedom of text represents the idea that every piece of written content deserves an equal opportunity to be read, understood, and utilized, breaking down obstacles that prevent universal access to knowledge. One of the most critical aspects of universal accessibility is ensuring that text can be transformed to suit the needs of all users. This includes large print formats for low-vision individuals, AI-powered text-to-speech for the blind, multilingual translations for global comprehension, and dyslexia-friendly fonts for those with reading challenges. Moreover, digital accessibility standards such as WCAG, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, must be embraced so that websites, documents, and online content can be navigated and consumed without barriers. It's a movement toward designing content that adapts to human needs rather than forcing people to adapt to content. Beyond physical and cognitive accessibility, freedom of text also plays a crucial role in breaking down digital censorship and information suppression. In today's algorithm-driven world, much of what people read is controlled by invisible forces, whether through search engine biases, social media content filtering, or monetized visibility models. This raises ethical concerns about who controls knowledge and who gets left out of the conversation. By advocating for equal visibility of all text-based information, freedom of text promotes a more transparent, unbiased, and inclusive digital landscape, where knowledge is not just reserved for those with power but shared among all. For businesses, organizations, and innovators, embracing freedom of text is more than just adopting accessibility practices. It's about championing a fundamental human right. Whether developing AI-driven literacy tools, advocating for open-source education, or ensuring that public documents are easily readable by all, the concept has real-world implications. Freedom of text is a call to action for governments, tech companies, publishers, and educators to recognize that written information is a shared asset of humanity, not a commodity that should be limited by profit models, restrictive policies, or inadequate design. The future of accessibility depends on the universal readability of text, ensuring that every word written has the power to educate, empower, and inspire everyone, everywhere. At its core, freedom of text is a declaration that all written words deserve to be seen, read, and acknowledged without suppression. It represents the fundamental right to express ideas, share knowledge, and engage in open discourse without artificial or political barriers. Throughout history, written language has been the cornerstone of communication, from ancient manuscripts to modern-day digital platforms. However, in today's world, text is increasingly controlled by algorithms, content filters, and corporate or governmental oversight that can shape what people read and ultimately, what they believe. Freedom of text is a response to these challenges, a call to protect and preserve the universal right to free expression in all forms of text. The power of the written word is unmatched in its ability to influence minds, spark movements, and record history. Yet, not all text is treated equally in the digital age. Social media algorithms prioritize engagement over truth. Search engines rank content based on commercial interests, and some governments impose censorship to silence dissent. This manipulation of text-based communication distorts reality and limits intellectual freedom. Freedom of text advocates for a world where text is allowed to exist without bias or suppression, ensuring that individuals, not corporations or governments, decide what content they consume and share. A true commitment to freedom of text also means ensuring that diverse voices have equal representation. Marginalized communities, independent journalists, and emerging writers often struggle to have their words seen in a digital landscape dominated by established power structures. When certain perspectives are systematically drowned out, whether due to algorithmic bias, political suppression, or commercial priorities, society loses valuable insights and the ability to engage in open, democratic dialogue. By championing the unrestricted flow of written information, freedom of text strengthens the foundation of free speech, intellectual diversity, and cultural representation, making sure that every voice, regardless of status or location, has a platform to be heard. Ultimately, freedom of text is not just about allowing text to exist, it is about actively defending the right to express, share, and access ideas without interference. It calls for transparent AI moderation, open access publishing, and global literacy initiatives that ensure people have the freedom to read and write without constraints or fear of suppression. As digital platforms become the primary means of communication, the principles behind freedom of text must be upheld to protect the integrity of free expression. The written word has always been a force for progress. By preserving its unfiltered existence, we ensure a future where knowledge remains free, voices remain heard, and truth remains accessible to all. Freedom of text is deeply intertwined with the fundamental right to information, ensuring that all individuals have the ability to access, read, and share knowledge without barriers. Information is the backbone of an informed society, influencing decisions at every level, from personal choices to global policies. When access to text is restricted, whether through government censorship, corporate paywalls, or algorithmic suppression, people are denied their right to knowledge. Freedom of text advocates for open access to information, where no one is excluded from learning, understanding, and engaging with the world's collective knowledge. In the digital age, information is both more available and more controlled than ever before. While the internet provides vast amounts of text-based content, who gets to see what is increasingly determined by search rankings, content moderation, and data privacy policies? Some governments restrict access to certain books, articles, or websites, while corporations lock valuable research behind expensive paywalls. This creates a divide where only the privileged few can access unbiased, unfiltered, and uncensored knowledge, while others are left in information darkness. Freedom of text challenges this imbalance by pushing for transparency, open data policies, free access to public records, and a digital landscape where knowledge is not hidden behind barriers. The right to information is also a matter of historical preservation and truth-seeking. In many parts of the world, history is rewritten or erased by those in power who control what is published and what is forgotten. Important documents, eyewitness accounts, and investigative journalism are often censored, buried, or outright destroyed to manipulate public perception. By upholding freedom of text, we ensure that information remains available for future generations to learn from the past, challenge misinformation, and make decisions based on reality rather than propaganda. A free flow of text preserves historical integrity, ensuring that truth remains accessible even in the face of attempts to distort or suppress it. To truly uphold the right to information, society must commit to universal literacy, digital accessibility, and open knowledge-sharing platforms. Governments, tech companies, and educational institutions must work together to eliminate barriers that prevent people from accessing vital information. Whether through free online libraries, AI-driven translation tools, or the protection of independent journalism, the future must prioritize a world where text is unrestricted, knowledge is freely available, and information remains a right, not a privilege. Freedom of text is more than a concept. It is a movement to ensure that every person, regardless of background, education, or location, has the right to read, learn, and understand the world without limits. The fight for freedom of text is a fight for transparency, accountability, and accessibility. Government spending should never be hidden from the very people funding it, and public records should be open for all to read, without restrictions, complicated jargon, or digital barriers. A truly democratic society thrives when every citizen has access to clear and understandable information about how their government operates. By ensuring that all government expenses are freely accessible, we empower individuals to hold leaders accountable, make informed decisions, and advocate for policies that serve the public good. Freedom of text is not just about access. It's about ensuring that knowledge and information remain a right, not a privilege. The domain freedomoftext.com is available for sale from Francis Cachet, with 100% of the proceeds going to the Low Vision Rehab Fund. This fund is dedicated to helping individuals with low vision and those supporting them, by providing resources, guidance, and access to technology that enhances independence and quality of life. This fund is dedicated to helping individuals with low vision and those supporting them, by providing resources, guidance, and access to technology that enhances independence and quality of life. Purchasing this domain is more than just acquiring a powerful brand. It is an investment in a future where information is accessible to all, including those who rely on assistive technology to read and understand the world around them. Support freedom of text today and be part of a movement that champions transparency, accessibility, and the right to information for all. Support freedom of text today and be part of a movement that champions transparency, accessibility, and the right to information for all.